What a picture-perfect evening in Glendale, Arizona. Here at Camelback Ranch, the Chicago Cubs are here to take on your world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Hi again, everybody. I'm Tim Neverett. Happy to have number 16, Rick Monday, back in the booth with us. Kirsten Watson will join us in just a little bit. And Rick, when you talk about the Dodgers at the top of the order, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, they may be the best 1-2 punch in all of baseball.
Tim, we think back to last year. Mookie Betts was not in the leadoff spot. He had 3 home runs in one game. Dave Roberts was asked, well, who's going to be your leadoff man now? Mookie Betts. He does it in all different categories. He can hit, he can run, he can field. Yeah, he can leap up and make catches as well. But he gets on base and use the speed. Then you got the contact hitter, Corey Seager. He can hit the ball anywhere, puts the ball into play. So pretty good 1-2 punch. And the Dodgers, they were known last year as getting out in front early because you've got the Betts and Seager combination right at the top of the Dodger line.
We'll get a look at Mookie Betts and the World Series MVP, Corey Seager. Jimmy Nelson missed last season due to back surgery. The former Brewer gets the ball tonight.
He's had injuries, but this is a golden opportunity for him to reach out and grab the brass ring. Dave Roberts says he's going to stretch out all of his pitchers, maybe for starters.
Jimmy Nelson will go. We'll see Josiah Gray pitch maybe 2 innings as well. Fans are inside Camelback Ranch. We'll have the lineups. First pitch just around the corner. You can't get much better weather than this for baseball here in Arizona. 70 degrees, winds out of the south, 6 miles an hour, relative humidity. Jimmy Nelson taking the mound. Dodgers will take the field, and we'll go down to the field right now. Kirsten Watson standing by.
Thanks, guys. You said it. Jimmy Nelson will be starting tonight on the mound. He's expected to pitch for 2 innings. And I spoke to Dave Roberts just about Jimmy getting back out there, and he said Jimmy is honestly just excited to be back after having back surgery about a year ago. Actually in July of last year. He's excited to be back out here. He's also said that, what he expects to see from him tonight is about a 94, 95 miles per hour breaking ball. So it should be a good one. And then we will also be seeing Josiah Gray make his debut. And for him, Dave Roberts was just like, he's excited to see him play against some of the big league guys. He looks forward to it all. Back to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Kirsten. Jimmy Nelson, a career record, 33-46, 4.22 ERA. And the Dodgers signed him knowing that he probably might need some surgery, so he sat out last year, and they hope that the dividends are paid this year.
Well, the Dodgers have done such a tremendous job over the years in what they have done, reclamation projects and some of the pitchers. So Nelson's also had the rotator cuff surgery as well. But here's a guy, one of the things going to be watching at times he fights with his mechanics. So trying to smooth things out, and for Mark Prior, now the head pitching coach for this Dodger ball club, really a good opportunity to sit down, understand what's happening with Nelson, iron out the mechanics, because once he gets into the mood of delivering and very smooth delivery, he's got good stuff.
And for Mark Prior, as far as pitching goes, he's got a lot of tools in the toolbox this year. That's no doubt. Well, Ian Happ walking to the plate, the switch hitting center fielder. He'll lead off for the Cubs. Nico Horner will follow. Ildemaro Vargas. Then David Bodie, Austin Romine, Rafael Ortega. In the bottom part of the order, Wisdom, Rivas, and Hermosillo to face Jimmy Nelson. Again, the plan for Nelson to go 2 innings, but beautiful night in Glendale. You can see the third baseman, Edwin Rios, for the left-handed hitting Happ, is playing well off the bag at third. And we are just about ready to get this one started. 5th spring training game. It is expected to go 7 innings tonight. Cubs 2-0-1. They tied Seattle yesterday. The Dodgers 2-0-2. They tied the Reds last night 4-4. So Nelson ready to dig in, and we'll throw that first pitch here momentarily. And Nelson, we expect to see Josiah Gray, Blake Trinan tonight, Ryan Pepio, Edwin Uceta, and left-hander Victor Gonzalez on the pitching script tonight for Dave Roberts' Dodgers. Well, Happ will step in. And finally ready to get underway in Glendale as Nelson steps back. First pitch of the ball game. It's a little bit low. Ball 1. Gabe Morales is calling the balls and strikes tonight. Ed Hickox, Nick Marley, Edwin Moscoso are the umpires who are rotating on the bases. And the 1-0 to Happ. That's up high. 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah, with Nelson just getting into the flow of the delivery. and then trying to dial it back in. Okay, if you're up with the pitches, okay, how about the release point for the Cubs also, Tim, as we look at this ball club? You know, David Ross is trying to figure out Ian Happ is going to be the leadoff man because their leadoff guys last year did not get on base a lot.
Happ goes the other way, but right there is A.J. Pollock. And there's one gone in the top of the first.
In fact, the leadoff hitters for the Cubs last year barely hit 210. So for Nelson, again, he's a guy that is very much a power pitcher, but he can mix in some off-speed pitches as well. And you just wonder in the back of his mind if he's thinking, well, you know, I was injured in Wrigley Field years ago. Strangely enough, diving back into first base. He hurt his rotator cuff and had surgery, so maybe a little payback against the Cubs team.
Here's Nico Hoerner. His thoughts of being the everyday second baseman. The Cubs did bring in Eric Sogard, though, as a free agent, who is a guy expected to get some time at second as well. Jimmy Nelson out of Niceville, Florida, University of Alabama. And breaking ball in the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. Remember when Nelson came up with the Brewers, how excited they were about him. They, for a while, had a run of a few good young pitchers that came up. Another one's on this staff, Corey Knebel. A swing and a miss. Zach Davies, remember there was a lot of hoopla when he came up with the Brewers. Davies was with the Padres, now with the Cubs.
And Nelson first started up too, as Dave Roberts knows very well. Jimmy Nelson, you talk about, well, the name up in bright lights. He was the Brewers minor league pitcher of the year 2014.
Right. Hoerner fouls it off. Still 1-2. They had high hopes for him. And on a lot of nights he demonstrated that he could live up to those high hopes. As time goes on, going to give up some hits.
Well, I mentioned in the open that Dave Roberts was addressing the members of the media about 45 minutes ago. He said, look, we're going to stretch out as many of our starting pitchers as we can in spring training in case we need them early.
Well, think about it, though. Over the course of the season, and we're doing something unprecedented this year, and that is going back to 162 games off of a 60-game season. How many pitchers will you need? No one really knows.
Exactly. And you're going to travel. AAA is going to start 1 month later. So you're really going to be doing a high wire act, all the major league teams, on what you're going to do with the guys who will not be on your major league travel roster, which is going to be expanded due to the protocols.
Sixth pitch of the at bat is fouled off.
You know, this is an interesting at bat in the matchup, because if you look at Hoerner, he has been late on all of his swings. Yeah, there's been some souvenirs that have gone to the stands. Don't know what the protocol is on souvenir balls. You have to wipe them down. Not really certain. But if you're a pitcher and you're recognizing, hey, the hitter's late with my good stuff, even the hard slider, don't throw something that the bat can catch up to and see if he finishes off with something hard here.
1-2 again. This one's in play, and that's down the right field line, an opposite field single. Mookie Betts will get it back in.
Well, he tried to power the ball, but he just got it up and out over the plate. That's a danger area.
1 on, 1 out. Here is that last pitch. Inside outing it to right. So Hoerner is at first base, and the batter is Ildemaro Vargas, the former Diamondback, who is playing shortstop tonight for the Cubs. Vargas had played middle infield, a lot of second base for Arizona. Pitch. That's ball 1.
Vargas is in the same situation as Hoerner, trying to battle for a position on this ball club. Outfield will be a starting position, but a position nonetheless.
Nelson ready to go, and the 1-0 pitch to Ildemaro Vargas. Wait, he'll throw it to first base. Matt Davidson covering. Davidson getting the start at first tonight for the Dodgers. Is what we'll see in terms of lineups. You don't normally at this point in spring training see an everyday lineup. You see a mixture of guys who are getting more at bats who are probably destined for AAAs, and you get some non-rostered invites. It's a wild pitch will send Horner down to second base. So you don't always get that opening day lineup really until you get later in spring training.
And for veteran players, a pitch in the dirt just difficult to handle. But for veteran players, you understand, and you have the advantage of listening to your body. You know when you're ready. Austin Barnes doing the catching tonight. You know, the lateral movement back and forth. Doesn't know Nelson exceptionally well. Always caught him in bullpen sessions already in the spring. But now it's game conditions, and it's a little bit different matchup where all of a sudden you put a batter at home plate and an umpire behind the catcher.
2-0 offering to Vargas. Bouncer foul, 2-1. Well, as a veteran player, you went through it. You know, was the magic number 50 at bats or so?
I think it depends on how you're feeling. Yeah. Are you coming off an injury to begin with? Do you have something you have to prove to yourself? Jimmy Nelson understands that because he's had not only the rotator cuff surgery, he's had the back surgery. You listen to your body, and from a position player, you have a better idea, I think, of understanding how you feel in certain at bats. Do you want 3 at bats in a game? Do you want the 50 at bats in spring training?
Vargas takes inside, throw down to third. That one's going into the outfield. The Cubs are going to get on the board. Nico Horner comes in to score. 1-0 Chicago.
Well, not only taking off is not so much with Austin Barnes, but there was nobody home initially at third base. It was a late cover in the bag. So you can see it's a delayed steal and not to the bag in time. And that's just a spot of awareness of what's going on. Difficult because the catcher, you can see the guy take off, but you can't throw it until you have it.
Vargas fouls this one off. Last year, Vargas in 4 games against the Dodgers went 1 for 12.
You know, Tim, for the Cubs and the Dodgers, they have not been strangers. They first played against one another in 1890. 1890. How have they fared? Well, the Cubs have won 1,043 during the regular season. Dodgers 1,056.
Vargas hits one right into the glove of Nelson, who will walk it over to first base for the out.
But this is a new group of players, and they have no intention of looking up what happened in 1890. This is all about right here, right now. Practice or not, as far as spring training games.
Josiah Gray starting to loosen up. David Bodie, 200 hitter, over 45 games last year for Chicago. The Cubs with a 1-0 lead. Had a base hit, wild pitch, stolen base, and an error on the throw by the catcher Barnes, resulting in the run. Zach McKinstry offers a souvenir.
McKinstry is another guy that is really getting the attention. If we look back to last spring and this spring so far, getting the attention of this Dodger ball club, because now you've got 2 spots that have become vacant. Peterson going to the Cubs, and Kiki Hernandez is gone, and McKinstry has shown his wares early going here already. Very well.
We've had him play shortstop, center field. He'll be all over the place. Bodie fouls off the curveball from Jimmy Nelson.
McKinstry is one of those guys that was overlooked at a young age. Only 33rd round draft choice by this Dodger ball club, but he was sick and tired of being sick and tired. But people said, well, you're not fast enough, you're not tall enough, you're not strong enough. But he knew how to play the game, and he has shown his knowledge of how to play the game very well.
Nelson's 0-2. Curveball got him. So Jimmy Nelson strikes out David Bodie. Cubs get a run on a hit. There was an error. Nobody left. And after a half inning, it's the Cubs 1 and the Dodgers coming to bat.
Well, if it
Lead, Dodgers coming to the plate for the first time tonight. And it'll be Mookie Betts leading off. Betts and then Corey Seager, A.J. Pollock. Edwin Rios will be the designated hitter tonight. Then Austin Barnes batting after him. Zach McKinstry, Matt Davidson, Sheldon Noisy, and James Outman. Outman with another start in center field. It's his second start in the last 3 games. And Trevor Williams, the former Pittsburgh Pirate, former Miami Marlin out of Arizona State University. 11 starts last year, went 2-8. And he gets the call tonight for the Cubs as he's trying to solidify his spot in the Chicago rotation. And here is Mookie Betts. And Mookie tracks that one in there for a strike, knee high. Mookie's something else. Now you'll get the chance to see him over a full season. What he can do. Falls behind, 0-2.
Early going in spring training, I always felt the pitchers had the advantage. First of all, hitters can be late, have difficulty repeating the swings.
Fouled down the third base side.
And trouble with balance.
Yeah.
Tim, you used the perfect word. You watch Mookie Betts as he gets off balance. Oops. Use the word tracking. Very seldom do you ever hear this. You know, one of the other things that you have to do as a player in spring training to get ready. And everybody says, well, you're getting the legs in shape, you're getting the arms in shape, you're getting the swings in shape, the defense, the whole. Tracking the baseball. You have to train your eyes again. What I mean by that? Picking up the release point. The ball's going 90, 100 miles an hour. You have to retrain your eyes to follow that little sphere.
0-2 is outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That's why sometimes, you know, when you're there in the backfields, you're there at the ballpark early, you might see a guy standing in the batter's box in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Because the pitcher knows he's not swinging. He's just tracking pitches. A breaking pitch caught the outside edge of Mookie Betts, who you will not see argue very much. He's arguing here in a spring training game, so well, you know he didn't like that pitch.
It's spring training and not just for the players.
Yeah, I know.
This one is, if you know the layout of the Phoenix area, Glendale's on the west side. And considerably farther west is Buckeye, Arizona. Well, that one was almost in the city limits of Buckeye.
Corey Seager batting. Drove through Buckeye last spring.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to do.
It takes you about 5 seconds. 307 last year. What a season for Corey Seager. Just outstanding. All the way around. Earned all the accolades, certainly. Had his highest batting average since 2016 with 307. And his on-base percentage of .358 is highest since 2017. And he rips this one into right field for a base hit. One-out single for Seager.
Well, his best season last year overall. Yes, it was an abbreviated season, no question. 60 games, but boy, talk about a very well-packed 60 games for Seager. But the other part, too, that maybe gets lost in the shuffle is the fact he was healthy last year for the first time in a few years. He had some sizable surgeries, but last year he said even in spring training, I'm ready to go. Boy, was he ever.
Remember a couple of years ago, Ned Colletti saying, you watch Corey Seager when he's fully healthy. He will be something else. And you're right. He was fully healthy, and he was something else. Here's A.J. Pollock. 1 on, 1 out, and a 1-0 game. Cubs leading. Pollock last year in the home run department. And many fewer games. In fact, 2019, he had 308 at-bats, had 15 home runs. Last year, 196 at-bats, 16 home runs. Actually had 1 more home run in a 60-game season than he did in a full season the year before. With the bulk of those home runs coming over his final few weeks. Last 20 games, Pollock was on fire. He had 303, 10 home runs, and had 23 hits over that span. 10 of those 23 hits were home runs. Williams ready to go out of the stretch. Seager off of first, and the pitch is down low.
Pollock was another guy that was healthy last year. You know, he and his wife had a scare to begin with. Premature child. Everybody is fine. That put his mind at ease, put his family at ease. He went out and he played baseball, and boy, did he ever do it. And I thought he had one of the better years, not just because he was healthy, but one of the better seasons that we have seen in even going back to when he was with Arizona.
And he hopes to put put together a good one this year.
I talked to AJ about a month ago. We did a Zoom meeting. I had a chance to talk to him. I asked him, I said, what did the World Championship mean to you? And it took him a while because he was still trying to collect his thoughts. He said, I keep revisiting it. I keep rethinking about it. And then you get, and finally, that last out. And it says, we don't have to get any more outs. We don't have to win another ball game. And when Urias struck out Willy Adames on 3 pitches at the end of the game, the Dodgers, world champions.
Bouncer toward the middle. And spinning and throwing is Vargas, and he just gets Pollock. Seager able to advance to second base. Ildemaro Vargas, pretty nice play there to retire A.J. Pollock.
Vargas showing a lot of range and then made a very difficult throw on top of it. Bang bang play at first base, but very nice play indeed. And Vargas just using the ground to his advantage instead of trying to lob the ball over to first base.
This will bring up the DH, Edwin Rios. So Rios a chance to drive in a man. 8 home runs last year. Hit .250, went 19 for 76. And this one is pulled to the right side and kicked around. And that's going to get Seager to third base. And safe at first is Edwin Rios. So runners at the corners and 2 down.
Rios didn't waste any time, hit that ball very sharply. And for Rivas at first base, he's not going to rub it, but that could not have felt too good. Right in the underside of the right wrist. Made a good play and coming up the ball immediately, throwing it to home plate, stopped the runner from scoring.
Base hit for Rios. 2 hits in the inning, and Austin Barnes a chance to change the score. Comes up 1-0. Tying run at third, go ahead run at first. Trevor Williams set to go. The pitch up high. The count 1-0. Barnes had figured some things out with the bat last year. 2 years ago, he had to be sent down. And while in the Pacific Coast League with Oklahoma City, just tore it up. And came back and was a little more comfortable at the plate. This time he shatters the bat, rolls to Vargas. He'll step on the bag, get the force play, and leaps his way out of trouble. So Williams hangs a 0, and after a full inning, it's the Cubs 1 and the Dodgers nothing. Champion Dodgers baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the SoCal BMW Centers. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. One of the scenes after Game 6 of the World Series, Mookie Betts, his daughter Kinley, on the field in Arlington. All kinds of reasons to be happy and smile, for sure. So Josiah Gray, JoJo, is on the mound for the Dodgers now. Jimmy Nelson goes just 1 inning, gives up a hit, 1 unearned run. Didn't walk anybody and struck out 1. So we're hoping to see Nelson for 2. He goes 1. And Gray may go 2 innings here. We'll see. JoJo Gray, former shortstop out of Lemoyne College, Syracuse. Facing Austin Romine. Romine, a well-traveled catcher. Romine waits, and here comes the pitch from Gray. And foul tip. That hurts, spring training or not. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ooh.
So you want to be an umpire.
I mean, he got him right in the sternum. Gabe Morales,
yep,
hanging in there.
No. Mookie will send him a bouquet.
So Gray ready to go. He winds and fires. And that's inside.
Just watching Gray get such good movement. That ball's tailing in on right-handers. He's a power guy. He said when he was moved to shortstop to the mound, he says better opportunity if you're going to continue and play professional baseball. He said, but he says I wasn't really disappointed, but wasn't thrilled at the same time.
Well, another year for him of development. He's getting closer. Dodgers high on him. Considered one of the top prospects in the Dodger organization. And the Dodgers hope that he becomes the payoff in the deal for Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp, because he was originally property of the Cincinnati Reds when they drafted him 72nd overall a few years back. And when Puig and Kemp were sent to the Reds, Gray was part of the return. In 2019, first season in the Dodger organization, he was named the organization's minor league pitcher of the year. And Romine bangs it down the line left side. Noisy with a backhand play, sails the throw. Sheldon Noisy throws it away, and that'll put the base runner Romine at second base. Second Dodger error tonight.
Well, he got to the ball on the backhanded side, but a little bit too much altitude.
Noisy coming over from the A's for Adam Kolarek. This is Rafael Ortega, the right fielder. Cubs won the Central Division last year and then were bounced in the wild card round by the Marlins. Central Division this year could be up for grabs too. I think the Cardinals, with the acquisition of Nolan Arenado, will be big, but David Ross in his second year as manager after taking over for Joe Madden and leaving the television booth for the job as skipper.
Well, the Cubs got everybody's attention, Tim, earlier on last year because they won 13 of the first 16 ball games that they played.
Popped up. So Ortega sends this one into shallow center. Camping under it is Seager for the first out.
But some of the problems, the issues, as most clubs are looking at, offense. Cubs last year were 27th in Major League Baseball in batting average, just .220. They were 27th in runs scored. They were 17th in home runs that were hit. Pitching, not so bad. David Ross knew his ball club. They were 10th best in earned run average. But against the Central Division, here was a number I looked at and I was really surprised. Against their own division, they hit below 200 as a team.
That's not going to work when you play those guys the most. Patrick Wisdom, the designated hitter.
Little things in spring training. That pitch was low. Austin Barnes went down, smothered the ball, perfect alignment, body in front of the pitch. Just little things, little tweaks here, little tweaks there.
Well, Josiah Gray peeking back at Romine. Now the pitch, and it's fouled back. Look at what the repertoire is for Gray. You'll see more of him as spring goes along. We saw some last year, a little bit in 2019, but a little last year before spring training was shut down. But I think as time goes on, Dodger fans will see more and more of Gray. But fastball, a real good fastball, sitting between 93, 96 miles an hour. He's got good command of it. 1-1 pitch. 2-1.
Consistency of throwing strikes. Mentioned before, he's got good movement and everything else. I didn't realize you're going to just all of a sudden open up the floodgates earlier on in spring training and start to use big words like repertoire.
Repertoire.
Yeah.
You know, with the off season, I had time to learn that word. Spelled it a few times, used it in a sentence a couple of times, and it stuck. 2-1. Fouling out of play.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to use it than it is to spell it.
Start with an R. You can do the rest. One of the good pitches for Gray in his repertoire is his slider. That's been a good swing and miss pitch for him. Goes down in the mid 80s. Most sliders are. 2-2. It's taken low. That one's bounced. So full count now to Patrick Wisdom. With Alfonso Rivas on deck. Nice block by Barnes. So Barnes in there tonight, and then we'll more than likely see Tim Fedorovich also tonight. Stevie Berman is one of the backup catchers, and Hunter Fiducia is dressed as a catcher tonight. Pitch. Got him. There's that slider. And just tails down and away just enough to get the right-handed hitter Wisdom to swing and miss.
Well, you just wonder. I mentioned before about training the eyes, and in particular early going. You get one look on a hard slider and just pull off of it a little bit more. So it gets the swing and miss. The question is he going to have to pitch behind in counts or go full counts? And if you do that too often, it eliminates the time you're going to be on the mound.
Facing the left-handed hitting Rivas. It's fouled back. And we mentioned Lemoyne, the Division II school that Gray went to, as a shortstop there. Started all the time. But he's one of those athletes at that Division II level that not only was he going to play shortstop, but he was going to pitch. And in 2018, his last year there, he started 13 games. He went 11-0 with an ERA of 1.25, 1.25. Nobody could hit him. Somebody hit him because he'd give up 1.25 run on average, but still
not often.
Not often. They had, you probably had hitters in that league that would foul one off against him, and I think that was a win. He twirls the baseball in his hand, gets the grip he wants, and the 1-1 coming. That one is in the dirt, gets away from Barnes. Romine can't move up.
Well, for Austin Barnes, he's already had a full workout. Had a couple of pitches by Jimmy Nelson in the first inning. They were in the dirt. That's the third or fourth one in this inning. And they have been inside, outside, directly in front of him. You name it, he's had it.
Two and one to Alfonso Rivas, the first baseman. Swing and a miss. Powered it past him.
Speaking of catching, I had this conversation with somebody, a baseball person, the other day. I think overall, and here's a good pitch too, and just tailing away from a left-handed batter. But the catching, the Dodgers were one of the exception. I think there's only a handful of teams that we saw last year that the catching overall was impressive.
2-2.
Between Austin Barnes and Will Smith, I think the Dodgers head and shoulders above most of the teams that we saw consistently. I'm talking about receiving the ball. I'm not talking about the framing. That's a whole different scenario that we can get into a long discussion about. Is it effective? Is it not effective? Then you take all that information, ask an umpire about it. Ooh, that's another story in itself.
That's a no-no.
But receiving the ball and setting up and working with your pitching staff. The Dodgers were, I thought, head and shoulders above most teams we saw.
Oh, high fastball struck him out. So 2 strikeouts in the inning for Josiah Gray. Still 1-0 Cubs, heading to the bottom of inning number 2.
To Glendale, your favorite Dodger Stadium eats are available at home through Dodgers home plates. From Dodger dogs to garlic fries and nacho helmets, get a taste of the ballpark experience delivered on demand. Search for Dodgers home plates on Postmates and order your stadium favorites for the next game now.
It's a great idea. Should do it. Thank you, Kirsten. Zach McKinstry takes up high from Trevor Williams. Comes with a 1-0 lead, bottom of the second. Kirsten Watson and Rick Monday. I'm Tim Neverett. Glad you're tuned in no matter where you're watching Dodger baseball tonight. It's 2-0.
Mitchell McKinstry was quoted as saying, and here's a guy 33rd round pick. He says one of the things he learned very early on, whatever you are, there are always eyes on you watching what you're doing.
This is slicing to left center. It's going to get down. McKinstry, big turn, hits the brakes, and he'll retreat to first base with the head-first dive.
Again, McKinstry says, look, in college, I wasn't the strongest, I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the fastest. He said, but I know how to play the game, and that was to his advantage. And Dave Roberts was asked two days ago about McKinstry. And he said, very simply, he says, there's a lot to like.
So the Chippewa from Central Michigan has himself a leadoff base hit. Tying run aboard, nobody out. Quick throw over by Williams. McKinstry back. Veteran Matt Davidson. We talked about him the other day when Ned Colletti was here, Rick, about the fact that he's pitched in 6 major league games, 3 for the White Sox, 3 for Cincinnati. Threw a bullpen the other day here at Camelback Ranch. Oh, watch out. A missile down the third base side, foul. But Dave Roberts wasn't ruling out Davidson to maybe get a look as a hurler. They might have a two-way option.
You never know. If situation happens to arise, maybe a blowout game. I'll say one, I'll be shocked if Davidson sees another curveball. And if he does, he'll see a better curveball quality-wise than the one that he just jumped all over.
That was it.
Yep, keep it away. So we go back to your comment, use the word, and again, you have to retrain your eyes. Tracking the ball. Where's the release point? Is it consistent with the pitcher? Your at bat begins well before you even get to home plate. Begins in the dugout.
Again in the dirt. That's blocked by Austin Romine. A ball and 2 strikes.
Which in the dugout, there's going to be, they're going to resume in having tablets available for the players. And they can, the players we're talking about, Dave Roberts has been talking about it too, is that they didn't have the advantage of going in and looking at videotape during a game, after an at bat at times. And some hitters get too involved with it and they miss what's happening on the field in between their at bats. But they're going to be able to look at their own at bat. It's a learning situation. They see different things. But it's interesting is that reading what Major League Baseball is going to do, they are going to blur out the catcher's signs. So that's you will not be able to look and see what the signs are, making sure that nothing can come out of the dugout to let the hitter know what is coming exactly.
Slap foul. Stays 1-2 to Davidson.
But we learned a lot, and I presented this question many times, and for those that play golf, ask yourself the question, do you remember what you thought when you saw your swing, your golf swing for the very first time?
Needed work.
I would say 99% of you would answer, it did not look like what I envisioned. Well, hitters are the same way. They want to look at their swings.
Breaking ball blocked again, 2-2. Yeah, they're constantly maintaining the swing.
Yeah, well, you want to know, did I pull my front shoulder out a little bit too soon? Was my balance there? Where was my stride on the ball? Was away? Did I pull off of it?
Nobody out, 1 on in a 1-0 game. Bottom of the 2nd inning. Trevor Williams to Matt Davidson. 2-2 offering. That one gets away. McKinstry's going to move up. And he thought about third for just a moment, but thought better of it.
What was I saying about catching? Well, we see the replay. What? This ball is in front of Romine, and yet he tries to backhand the ball. Doesn't get and smother it. He tries to backhand it. Yes, it hit the plate. But it used to be, said, hey, look, you want to hood yourself like a cobra, a snake. The glove with the palm up. Block the ball. Use the chest protector. So now you've got a runner scoring position. Just little things that open up opportunities for teams to score.
Tying run in scoring position and a full count to Davidson. Swings and misses at that breaking ball away. So he can't move the runner up another 90 feet. One down.
Thought also with the tablet and just chasing a ball that's off the plate, that would have been ball 4. The tablet, one of the other things that you can discern, you're not going to see the signs to find out exactly what, but you will be able to discern, is the catcher sitting inside on you most of the time? Is he positioned away from you? You get an idea on how that particular pitcher on that particular day is maybe going to be pitching to you.
Noisy takes one down the middle for a strike. Noisy hit .250 last year in 25 games with the Athletics. 2019 he appeared in 126 games in AAA in Las Vegas. Cut and a miss, and it's 0-2. We were just talking a couple of moments ago about picking up the release point. As a hitter, when do you start watching for that? As soon as the guy takes the mound against every hitter, is there a certain point or a pickup point that you would look for as a hitter, or was it different with each pitcher?
Well, each pitcher is going to be different. Some guys repeat the release point, some do not as often. But one of the things that you're not looking at the eyes, the face, the uniform. You want to be able to pick up, you get the rhythm of the delivery. But the other part too is if you break it down, just hit a snapshot, a 1,000th of a second. Is the hand directly behind the ball at release point? Is the hand overloaded to the outside of the ball in a breaking ball at release point? Can you see the fingers on top of the ball surrounding the ball in a changeup?
Noisy lifts this one in the air to shallow right. That's going to get down for a hit. I saw Ortega bluffing that he was going to catch the ball and play it safe with McKinstry. So he stays at third base. So a base hit for Noisy. And now the Dodgers have the tying run at third.
Wasn't hit hard, but perfect placement. And Ortega trying to decoy McKinstry at second base and said, well, maybe I have a chance to make the catch.
There is James Outman. He has looked pretty good lately, getting his first opportunity in big league camp.
I watched the game a little bit last night with you and with Ned Coletta, the great Ned Coletta. Outman hit a curveball. He pulled it foul, but I mean, he knocked the cover off the baseball. You get a couple of different swings and it just catches your attention when you see a hitter that just absolutely nails a pitch. Last night happened to be a breaking ball.
I think he worked a walk out of that at bat, didn't he?
I think so.
I think he did.
I think the count went full and he was able to work out the count, but early in the count he got a curveball, and it was interesting, they did not come back with another curveball after that. He smoked it.
He drove in the tying run against the Giants 2 nights ago in the 7th inning. Game would finish tied 1-1, but they were down 1-0 at the time. Dodgers needed a hit up and came up with a big one. And right now he's got a chance to tie the game again.
Yeah, in the early going, you get young players. They know that they're only going to get a snippet as far as the look. In the games that they're going to be in there, the regulars will start playing as we advance into spring training. It's closer and closer to opening day.
1-2 from Williams. Chased it. Good pitch by Williams. And Outman down on strikes, 2 away. So Williams probably feeling good about getting a strikeout there, but now he's got to face this guy.
Well, Betts took what was called strike 3, a slider way outside, about a half mile from Buckeye, Arizona. Does Williams go back outside, slider again? Breaking ball, but didn't get it out.
Look, he had a good postseason. 14 of 18 games he had hits. He reached base in 15 of the 18 games. McKinstry leads at third base, Noisy at first. 2 men out. And the 1-0 pitch to Mookie. 1-1.
Well, it doesn't apply just to postseason. Was there anything last year that Mookie Betts did not do? But I think at postseason in particular, I thought the 2 times that he was able to score from third base with the infield in, they were going to shut down the run. The second time he did it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was a chance in the world. He was leaping over the fence to bring back what would have been home runs, making throws, getting base hits, stealing bases, advancing bases.
2-1 now to Betts. And one of the things that he does better than anybody in baseball is run the bases. I think you talk to people around the game and they'll point to this guy as being the #1 base runner in the game. First to third on a base hit, typically it's almost automatic. Mookie hit .439 last year with runners in scoring position. Takes a strike here. It was 18 out of 41.
Well, in game 6, Betts got on board with the double. Took third on a wild pitch. Scored for the second time in the series on a ground ball on the drawn-in infield.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Well, that made it a 2-1 Dodger lead at the time. That was a huge play.
The 2-2. Well, he got him swinging. So Williams strikes out 3 in the inning, and he gets Betts with the tying run at third. So successful outing for Trevor Williams. Back to the drawing board for Mookie Betts. Still 1-0 Cubs.
By authority of the Los Angeles Dodgers and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Dodgers.
Top of the third inning at Camelback Ranch. Along with Kirsten Watson and Rick Monday. Tim Neverett with you. Dodgers trailing the Cubs. Folks out on the outfield grass in socially distanced areas. Enjoying a very pleasant night tonight at the ball yard. Great to see those fans back in the stadium. And JoJo Gray back out for his second inning of work. And he'll face the #9 hitter, the left fielder, Michael Hermosillo. Pitches up and into Hermosillo.
Well, the advantage of spring training, and now with fans in the stands too. Has some friends that drove over yesterday. They're at the game tonight. They will be there this weekend to watch the Dodgers.
Strike called, 1-1. Gray facing the former Angel, Michael Hermosillo. That's outside. Yeah, Hermosillo, 26 years of age. Ottawa, Illinois. Had a little bit of time with the Angels. Debuted in 2018 in Anaheim, where he had a career-high 31 games. Appeared in just 7 last year. Put some effort into that. Now 3-1. Got to get out of the way if you can. And the 3-1 pitch fouled off. Now it's full. 3-2.
We got reports, a little update on Cody Bellinger today. It was the shoulder surgery. Popped out of socket in the World Series, but are taking in the defensive drills in the morning, hitting on the field. So Dave Roberts saying, look, he's progressing very well, and there's a chance he may start to play sparingly mid-month.
Yeah, I know that Cody had an interview yesterday with our John Hartog, and Cody says he's ahead of schedule. Feels really good. He figures same thing by mid-month that he'll be in games. All that remains to be seen, but still no reason to rush him.
He will be ready, full blown, ready to go opening day.
3-2. Popped up, and Austin Barnes will give it a look, but that'll be out of play.
Spring training for fans, too. The gentleman behind home plate did not come within 4 feet of that baseball initially. And so one of the scouts grabs it and says, here you go. Here's a souvenir.
Time called. Less competition for the baseballs right now, too.
Yes. Well, a lot of competition for the gentleman that attempted to catch the ball that's wearing the Cubs jersey.
Hermosillo awaits the payoff pitch from Gray. Here it is. Yeah, it's fouled back.
You and I had as good a chance to catch that ball as he did.
That's true.
And we are miles away from there.
Slightly out of range. I think if we had a foul ball hit in our direction, it would come up just short. So Hermosillo hanging in there as Gray is ready to go. And the pitch. Oh, he got a hold of it. It's deep to left, and this ball is gone. It's a solo home run for Hermosillo on a 3-2 pitch. He worked Gray on that at bat and gets rewarded with a home run. It's 2-0 Chicago.
Gray was not able to finish him off. You give a hitter a lot of different looks and pitches, and then you throw a fastball not wanting to walk in. You throw a fastball in the big part of the plate. Got a big sound off the bat.
We'll see you with a long ball. And now Gray right back to work against the top of the order, Ian Happ. Happ is 0 for 1. He lined out to Pollock in left field in the first inning. So tonight we'll complete a small stretch of consecutive night games, 3 in a row. And then we'll get into a stretch of consecutive day games starting tomorrow. Friday afternoon. A little bit afternoon for our viewers on the West Coast. Clayton Kershaw will make his spring debut tomorrow. And, he'll do it against Kansas City at Surprise Stadium. Trevor Bauer is going to make his second start of the spring Saturday, a little bit afternoon West Coast time. It'll be against the Padres at Camelback Ranch. Happ takes on the inside edge for a strike. Question was asked earlier today of Dave Roberts, what about David Price? You get Bauer making his second start. Price hasn't made his first one, and what the skipper had said is, no reason to rush him right now. He's going to probably pitch in games starting next week.
Didn't he get the memo on when spring training was going to start?
Yeah, he was there on time. Okay. Rested, ready to go.
It was in all the papers. Internet.
Everybody's got their own schedule. And Dave Roberts coming out to get Gray. So the schedule for Gray is showing that his night's over. It's the ball from Roberts after walking Happ. So a home run and a walk here in the third. We'll take a timeout. Tell you about the new Dodger hurler when we return on Sportsnet LA. Josiah Gray, right-hander Edwin Uceta out of Los Alamisigos in the Dominican Republic. 2 years ago with Rancho Cucamonga in A-ball, 10 starts, went 4-0. And held a Cal League competition to a 2.15 earned run average. Uceta will take over. Nobody out and a man aboard after Ian Happ walked. So Gray ends up going 1+, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk, and an earned run allowed. Here's Nico Hoerner. Hoerner had a base hit. Went to second on a wild pitch, stole third, and then Austin Barnes threw errantly down to third to allow Hoerner to score the first Cubs run. Set his pitch. First one drilled to left field. On the run is Pollock. He'll backhand it. Around second and heading for third is Happ. Nico Hoerner didn't wait around, and he greeted Uceta rather rudely.
First pitch fastball. Hoerner jumped all over. I mentioned earlier that Hoerner is one of the young players in this Cubs roster that's trying to battle for position, and that swing is not going to hurt his chances at all.
Ildemaro Vargas bounced out back to Jimmy Nelson, the starting pitcher, in the first inning. Vargas has made a couple of clean defensive plays, and a curveball drops in for a strike. A mid-90s fastball for Uceta. A big slider. And a changeup. Kind of a slurvy slider, I guess you'd call it. Hoerner at second base. 4 out of 5 this spring, by the way, for the Cubs. Pretty good.
Hey, Tim, I want to go back to David Price, and he's not going to pitch for a while. It's really a very good decision on the Dodgers' part, because if you talk to so many different people, and over the years talked to trainers as well, pitching coaches. With David Price having been out last year, you want him to get back into the feel of the game and what he is doing to understand, say, okay, I'm ready. So don't rush him. Let him sit back, work on some pitches, soak in really the atmosphere of getting back into the game, because just reading his tweets and listening to him, he really missed the game in the competition and the guys around him.
And he's, you know, he's an elder statesman. He's going to be 35.
Well, and he understands his body. It's what I was talking about earlier. The advantage of a veteran player is you listen to your body and what it's saying to you. But you have to coordinate the body with the atmosphere and getting back into things. So it's really a good decision. I don't know if it's on David's part, if it's on the ball club, most likely with both sides coming together. But don't rush him. Let him ease back into it.
Well, Vargas clubs this one down the right field line, and that's a fair ball bouncing into the corner. Mookie Betts after it. Happ comes in to score. Chasing him home is Hoerner, a 2-run double for Ildemaro Vargas. 4-0 Cubs.
Back-to-back, 2 very loud doubles.
Now to close the book on Gray, he'll be charged for 2 runs now. Happ was still his responsibility. So Vargas 1 for 2. David Bote at the plate. Well, the other thing about Price, just getting back to that momentarily, is it'll be interesting to see how he does after he went through basically a calendar year without the regular wear and tear of being a major league pitcher on his body. I mean, it'll be really neat to see, you know, if there was any, you know, I guess healing that went on that he has the benefit of, just the rest, and what that will do for him. Yeah, good pitch by Uceta for a strike. It's 0-2.
When you're away from the game for a while, it does take you a period of time. I experienced it in a career after Achilles grafts that were done, and you're out from July and you miss the rest of the season. You come back into spring training. I try and relate it sometimes. Is it, you ever go on vacation for a few weeks and you don't drive a car?
Ball hit hard down to third. Noisey's got it. Comes to first for the out.
And this is basic stuff. Oh, driving a car. What does that have to do with baseball? Well, you've driven a car for, say, 2 or 3 weeks. You've been away. Don't you feel a little strange the first few minutes? Well, imagine now you're going to compete against the best in the world. Major League Baseball players. It does not happen just the snap of a finger. It's not a light switch. You turn it on and off.
We'll be anxious next week to see David get back on the hill for the Dodgers. Cued foul up the first base side.
You know what's odd? And I looked at this, is that when baseball was suspended last year, you know who was scheduled to pitch that game?
David Price.
David Price. That was going to be his first appearance in a Dodger uniform.
And it was against the A's, right?
Against the A's.
Yeah.
At Camelback Ranch, Glendale.
Rain that day. early in the day.
Well, the torrential downpour for baseball and everyone. But David was scheduled to pitch that day.
Vargas the lead at second, 1 out. Austin Romine takes low and away. Tonight's game scheduled for 7 innings, and what we have seen most of the time, if not all the time so far, is in these 7-inning games, regardless of whether the home team's leading after 6.5 or not, they will play a bottom of the 7th. Now tomorrow, we understand, will be a 9-inning game. Kershaw's debut. He's certainly not going to pitch 9, but he's going to pitch maybe 2. But we'll play 9 tomorrow. And we already know that Tuesday against the Reds will be 7 because they've already played the Reds and they had an arrangement with the Reds already that both the home and home would be 7. And after March 13th, they have to be a minimum of 7. Right now, they could be a minimum of 5.
Could be 5. It could be 7.
Burns blocks it. Vargas stays put.
You can also call the end of a half inning after 20 pitches thrown by a pitcher. And I was watching the game last night with you, Ned Colletti. It was what was it?
4 times.
Yeah, a base hit into the inning or fielder's choice into the inning, and there was
a ground rule double that ended the first.
See, and we all know that happens regularly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Dodgers flipped the inning 3 times and the Reds did it once, so 4 in the game.
And people that were tuning in that didn't really understand, hey, we're going with different rules this year. Said, what?
I thought there was 3 outs in an inning. Not always. Not this year.
Not so fast.
Let's see. He had an inning end on a ground rule double. There was another one on a let's see, on a ground out. Fielder's choice, I think. Oh boy, this one smashed deep to left center and gone. A home run for Romine. 6-0 Cubs. 2 home runs in the inning. Boy, Romine got all of it.
It's been a tough third of an inning for Lucena. He's faced 4 batters, 2 doubles, a home run. And everything has been hit hard. And this fan, well, I don't know why he's wearing a glove, but he's not wearing it out.
You mentioned it earlier. Spring training for the fans, too. I bet by June he has that lined up perfectly. This one's fouled over the Dodger dugout.
I'm giving you 5-to-1 odds he doesn't.
All right, maybe August. What do you give me if it's August?
He couldn't have caught that with a 10th.
So Uceta delivering home. Still 1 out, bases clear. This one is stroked by Rafael Ortega to right field. 1 hop in front of Mookie Betts. And the Cub hit parade continues in the 3rd inning. The Dodgers have given up 6 runs through 2 1/3 innings tonight. In their first 4 games prior to this one, they allowed a total of 6 runs. Pitching had been the buzz of camp. Throw over to first base and runner back in time. Talked to our man David Vassegh today. I said, what's the stories? What kind of scoops do you have from spring training? He said, pitching is the talk of camp right now.
Oh, he's right on top of it, isn't he?
Yep.
Our man David Vassegh.
He's not an award-winning reporter for nothing.
Okay.
So Uceta out of the stretch. Ortega off of first, and he delivers a strike on the outside corner.
And Ortega with a very sizable lead over at first base on top of it. He's out by the cut of the grass.
Yeah, there's the throw over. Patrick Wisdom struck out swinging in the second. He's 0 for 1. Popped out of the glove of Barnes. Runner will stay put. Ortega stays at first base.
Well, Wisdom will have some people watching tonight's ball game out of Marietta Valley High School. And off to St. Mary's.
Yeah, great campus there in Moraga. Runner goes. Pitch outside. No chance for Barnes. In fact, Ortega probably could have kept going had he not had the head first slide. So he'll end up at second base. Barnes has had his work cut out for him tonight.
He's been all over the place. Inside, outside, this breaking ball way outside. But Austin Barnes, and we just talked about the fact that Ortega had a very sizable lead over at first base, took advantage of it.
Still one out, runner at second base. It's been a busy third inning for the Cubs. And a strike.
Wisdom was asked about coming to spring training. He says, I attack every off season just like I attack every baseball season, because there's one place I want to play, the major leagues.
Chased that one downstairs, and Barnes tagged him. Live ball with first base open, but he got him. So that's going to do it. They're going to roll this inning with 2 outs. Dave Roberts is going to flip this inning. There you go, Rick. Here's your first one.
Different rules.
A 2-out inning, but the Cubs strike for 4 on 2 home runs. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Carl's Jr. Feed your happy at Carl's Jr. with the big car or the really big car. Another one of the iconic moments, so many of them captured at the end of the World Series. Rex Brothers, former Colorado Rocky, left-hander, takes over for Trevor Williams. Williams 2 innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, otherwise zeros. So Rex Brothers will now face Corey Seager, A.J. Pollock, and Edwin Rios as we start the Dodger half of the 3rd inning. L.A. down 6-0. Dodgers have 4 hits over the first 2 innings, but nothing to show for it. They came up empty in the second with runners at first and third and 1 out. Back-to-back strikeouts. Outman went down swinging, and then Mookie Betts went down looking, or rather swinging. He went down looking the first time.
Under the category, the listing of where has the time gone. This is Corey Seager's 7th major league season.
Oh, 2. Like the Steve Miller Band said, time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking.
He kept on hitting in postseason, in particular MVP of the World Series.
Nothing in 2 to Seager. Rex Brothers delivering. That's in the dirt.
How many different stories and makeups and situations if you look at the postseason? Dodgers had to win 3 in a row against Atlanta to move on to the World Championship. A lot of people say, well, their season's over. The Atlanta Braves are up. Well, the Dodgers, yep, they came back. And then individual moments in World Series games with base hits or defensive plays or base running. And I really thought that Game 6, there was one play, actually Game 5, that I thought really shut down the Rays. Dodgers had a 3-2 lead. Think back. Manuel Margot walked. Opened up the fourth. Stole second, went to third on an error. Second base. With 2 outs. Remember, he attempted to steal home plate with Clayton Kershaw on the mound. Right. Austin Barnes was the catcher. Kershaw, the lefty, his back to third base. Margot took off. Kershaw, presence of mind, backed off the mound, did not balk. And they got Margot at home plate. That ended the inning, ended the threat, and I thought that was one big play that turned things around and kind of shut the spigot off for the Rays.
That could have gone either way if Margot had an extra half step.
Now it's a tie game.
Now it's a different deal, but it was a calculated gamble on his part, and the gamble did not pay off for the Rays. Perfectly timed play for the Dodgers. Seager down swinging, 1 out. A.J. Pollock grounded to short in the first. He's 0 for 1. Brothers delivering, and that is outside low, ball 1.
The conversation I had with A.J. Pollock about a month ago. Question I asked is, what were your immediate thoughts right then and there when the third out and you're the world champions? And in his discussion, he got very emotional. This is more than just a game. You've got your heart, your soul, your dedication, your family supports you on top of it. With all the trials and tribulations that all these guys went through, everybody in uniform, front office on top of it. I mean, Major League Baseball stood tall last year.
2-0 in the air to right center. Pops down on the grass for a hit. A.J. Pollock 1 for 2.
That's about 34 and a half inches, occasionally 35 inches long, and you might as well use every inch of it.
He did.
The hits count just as much. You know what they say to a player, though, that's red hot in spring training? Hey, don't leave it in camp. Take it with you for the season.
It's good to have a good spring. You don't necessarily need to be the MVP. So someone's always kind of the unofficial MVP.
If you're trying to earn a spot, it behooves you to have a good spring.
Yeah. Rios shatters his bat, slowly rolled one way. Now there's a double play. That's going to do it. What a quick inning. Strikeout, base hit, twin kill, broken bat. The MLB app to get in the game and get in-game video highlights, live pitch-by-pitch, breaking news, player updates, stat leaderboards, and more for your world champion Dodgers and the rest of the league. So the rest of the night is off for Corey Seager. So he finishes up 1 for 2. Mookie Betts 0 for 2 tonight. Got to see some pitches, played a little defense, and now he is done. So DJ Peters goes in to replace Mookie Betts in right field. Jacob Amaya replacing Seager as shortstop. And Uceta remains on. And he delivers to Alfonso Rivas. Went down swinging in the second inning. Isaiah Gray got him to strike out. Curveball. Ball and 2 strikes now to Rivas. And the 1-2 in the air to left field, coming on Pollock. He'll make the running grab for the first out of the Cub fourth.
Number 67,
So we mentioned coming up tomorrow, we've got a stretch of day games beginning. Play the Kansas City Royals tomorrow afternoon. And the Padres on Saturday. Sunday, the Rangers. That'll be in Surprise, Arizona. The Rangers and Royals share that facility. And then Monday, another afternoon game against the White Sox. That'll be at Camelback Ranch. Tuesday, back to games under the lights, so there'll be 3 in a row. The Reds and then the Diamondbacks Wednesday, Mariners Thursday. A little shorter spring training schedule this year, but seems like there's more night games. Pitch now to Hermosillo. Hermosillo homered his first time up. Do you remember when you get a night game scheduled in spring training, what a surprise it was at first, and then maybe the next spring you had 2 of them, and then 3?
Well, it's a little bit better now because the lights are better. What you don't want is a night game in spring training where you say, when are they going to turn on the lights? And the answer is they're already on.
Ucetta's 2-2. Got him swinging. 2 men out. Ucetta comes back after a rough third. It's the first 2 men, and this order will flip over now to the top.
Well, talk about a big change for Ucetta. The young man is that his location has been better, and you just wonder, okay, in between innings, frustrating third when he came in, 2 doubles, a single, a home run, did have a strikeout. But he's come back and first 2 batters, better location. It's like real estate. Location, location, location.
Happ 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ian Happ.
Well, for Happ, again, they're hoping that he will fill a big void in that leadoff spot. His leadoff hitters again for the Cubs last year hit just .211. But the numbers that really got me is that their number 3 hitters last year, and Dave Ross knows all this at the helm. Number 3 hitters for the Cubs hit .204, and their cleanup hitters hit $190.
Ouch. And they still won the
And
division.
they still won.
Which might tell you a little bit about the division.
Well, they got off to a good start again. They were 13-3 in the first 16 games. They wound up going 34-26. They did not hit particularly well at all. I mean, they were in the lower echelon of Major League Baseball in a lot of different categories.
Happ drills this one deep to center. Outman back, and it is gone. A home run for Ian Happ. 7-0 Chicago. Ucetta was close to getting out of the inning. He left one up, out, and over, and Happ drilled it.
Yep, and Happ hit it out and over. And again, we see spring training with a fan who never mind.
We're not going to catch too many fly balls on a knee.
He may get hit in the knee, but he's not going to catch it.
In fairness, too, he is standing on a hill, so needs a stabilizer.
No, he needs a screen in front of him.
Nico Horner. He's had a good night, good spring so far. He's 2 for 2, 4 for 5 in the spring.
You know, you can tell when spring training is underway and some guys are starting to get antsy.
Yeah.
I say that because some good friends have just sent in some texts. They're raring to go. Chip Carey with the Atlanta Braves ready to do some broadcasting. Ron Coomer with the Chicago Cubs. That slacker isn't doing the games. He's headed to Wrigley Field pretty soon, so he's been listening.
So Ronnie's getting a short spring, huh?
Well, it's a win-win.
There's a ground ball to the right side, and Ucetta will be late to first. Well, Davidson was there to field it, but Ucetta was not at the bag.
You know it's going to be on the list tomorrow for pitchers to be doing?
PFPs.
PFPs. Covering first base, not being a spectator. And you know who's probably going to be at the head of the list to cover first base on the practice tomorrow?
Number 92.
Yep.
And you saw him hesitate as he came off the mound, and that's something that you get that muscle memory going once you do the PFPs over and over. PFPs, pitchers fielding practice.
Yes. Well, the muscle memory tomorrow will be fatigue.
Was there one thing that when you were a young player, some coach made you do over and over again so you couldn't take it anymore?
Yeah. Oddly enough, it was Joe DiMaggio, who was the hitting coach then for the Oakland A's. I didn't make a road trip. He said, "You're staying with me, kid." He says, "I'm going to work you out. I'm going to run you to death. And then I'm going to beat you on the golf course." And you know he was right in all three categories.
You were too tired to swing the clubs, probably. How good of a golfer was DiMaggio?
Good enough to beat you. If you ask him what his handicap was, he would never answer first. He would play just good enough golf to get you and agitate you. And boy, could he agitate.
Ildemaro Vargas takes high for a ball, 2-0. What kind of drills did he make you do?
Running.
Just running?
And running.
And more running.
And then ran the bases. And then ran the outfield. Foul line to foul line.
Here's the 2-0. And a bouncer to the right side, and that chops over the head of Davidson, off the glove of McKinstry. And heading over to third base is Horner. Vargas into second. So Horner 5 for 6 in the spring. Finds himself at third.
Well, just a high bouncer.
That'll be the second double for Vargas, and this will be the second inning in a row that it's flipped.
Inning ends on a double.
Oh, 2-out inning. And we'll be back with the bottom of the fourth. 7-0. New World Series champions gear yet, like that gentleman right there? Well, the Top of the Park store is now open Tuesday through Saturday at Dodger Stadium. See Instagram at Dodgers Top of the Park for store hours and details on how to purchase your home delivery. Joe Biagini takes over, former Toronto Blue Jay. Right-hander. 2 years ago with Toronto, worked in 50 games, went 3-1. Been a reliever a lot of the time there and worked himself into a starting role for a little while. He's with the Astros and now here with the Cubs. Joe
Redwood
Biagini.
City, California, and he's a Redwood just himself. 6'5", 235.
Now, if you're scoring games,
Good luck with these.
yeah, good luck. But I'll throw this tidbit in for you here in a second as Austin Barnes waits. He takes a strike. What I was told about these innings that are rolling or flipping, those are the two terms that are being used around baseball, is that even though there's 2 outs, they'll take the lead base runner and make a put out at the next base just for scorekeeping purposes. Not that it matters a whole lot at the end of the day, but in case you're wondering, somebody might wonder, how do you score that? How do you score the end of the inning?
And there are people that keep score of games in spring training. Every game.
That's why they sell scorecards. I'm sure people do it at home too. Everybody should keep score. They should learn how to do it. That should be a.
I think there's two things.
Should be a class in school.
A, keep score.
Yeah.
And B, get a rule book and read it.
There are so many. I mean, yeah, we all know 3 strikes you're out, 3 outs ends an inning in most cases in the regular season. But there's a lot of different and intricate rules that you don't know. And sometimes you have to get a refresher. I mean, even when you're watching as many games as we watch during the course of a regular season, you still need a refresher sometimes on some things just to be sure. And I know we both carry rule books with us when we're going anywhere, and sometimes you just flip the thing open if you have you're thinking about something that might happen or you might have seen the night before. You want to find out the exact reading of the rule.
With Austin Barnes, a catcher at home plate, although he draws the walk. For example, a runner on base. Ball gets away from the catcher. Let's say he reaches out with his mask to stop the ball from rolling. What's the ruling on that? There are instances that you have to record 4 outs in an inning.
It's an equipment violation.
Yes, it is. A big one.
Detached equipment. Runners move up.
It's a no-no. It's a technical term.
Can't do it. Saw that in a game a couple years ago, actually. Christian Vasquez, the catcher for the Red Sox, did it. Picked up a live ball with his, scooped it up in his mask.
Yep. You know where it used to happen was at Dodger Stadium years and years ago, because they measure the mound not from the ground surrounding the mound, but from the elevation of home plate. And for Dodger Stadium, 1968, they lowered the mound.
Right.
After Bob Gibson had that minuscule earned run average and the batting averages were down, well, they lowered the mound. But again, they measured it from the height of the home plate. So at Dodger Stadium, they basically built a crown for home plate. And Mike Scioscia in one game against the San Diego Padres, the ball was rolling away. Mike, not wanting the ball to start to roll downhill, reached out with a mask to stop it immediately. Things are called time. So if you want to know what the ruling was, get a rule book and read it. You can even go online with MLB.com and read the rule book.
Right. It's there. The great thing, though, about the internet is that you can just type in what you want.
Yeah.
Typically, it's going to come up in the MLB.com.
Think of all the days and nights that your day or night was ruined being in a library. So much for the Dewey Decimal System. Huh?
That's right. It's the Google Decimal System now.
Yeah, or Alexa or whatever.
2-2 to Zach McKinstry. 7-0 Cubs, bottom of the 4th inning.
Dewey Decimal System.
Waiting for the 2-2 from Biagini. Taste one. Strikes out. Down on strikes goes McKinstry. 1 down. Barnes remains at first.
First baseman number 57, Matt Davidson.
Looked like with the grip, the changeup. And the bottom just dropped out. It was tailing away. There's something I've never figured out. You have a pitcher just in the ball game, right? He strikes out the batter, gets the ball back immediately from the catcher, and wants a different baseman.
Yeah, it's something wrong with it. Don't know what. Maybe it's too new. Matt Davidson takes outside.
Well, air molecules damage the ball on the way back from home plate to his glove.
Well, when you ask pitchers about that, they'll tell you it just didn't feel right.
Well,
it
felt good enough to get the strikeout.
Yeah, they put the fingers on the seams and they're like, well, it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, well, excuse me.
Outside corner for a strike to Davidson.
If I'm Biagini, I want to see if I can get the interpretation of that outside corner again right here.
Biagini originally with the Giants was a Rule 5 pick by the Blue Jays. That's how he ended up there and made his big league debut. And while he was in A-ball with the Giants with San Jose, he actually interned at a television station. Biagini has an interest in the broadcasting field. Davidson tonight 0 for 1. He struck out in the 2nd inning. Dodgers have now struck out 6 times on the night. Of the 10 outs they've made, 6 have come by way of the strikeout. There goes Barnes down to second. And there is a non-strikeout out there as he is caught. Austin Romine with a non-target throw.
Well, in a 7-0 game and you're in the 4th inning, if it's close, you're gone. Barnes did not agree with the call, but call it yourself.
And now Davidson looks at one low and away. How many times in a spring training game, and I know the answer is probably hundreds, have you seen the bang bang play at first base always called out?
Often.
All the time. Neighborhood plays at second. And Davidson takes a walk. So he'll replace Barnes down at first base. 1 out, 1 on for Sheldon Neuse.
Number 56, Sheldon Neuse.
You go to the ballpark as often as you do, and the great thing about this game, and you hear it all the time, but the great thing is you will see something you don't normally see. Spring training games you do also, because there are so many players that take part. It's just a numbers thing. Something's bound to be different. And look at tonight. We've seen 2 innings end after 2 outs. You don't see that every day. That's part of the rule book this year for spring training. Outside corner for a strike. 1-1 to Neuse. He had a base hit in the second.
Yeah, went with the pitch in that second inning. A little blooper to right field.
Right off of Biagini. He recovers, gets it to first base in time. Side retired, inning over. We go to the 5th inning at Camelback Ranch. Cubs up 7-0. To receive the latest team news and ticket information straight to your inbox. Register for Dodgers email alerts by visiting Dodgers.com/newsletter today. These guys need the newsletter right there. See, look, he made a good catch. Mid-season form for that youngster. Here's Blake Trinan trying to get back into mid-season and late-season form. Trinan's second spring appearance. Heavy fastball, really good sinker, slider. And he'll occasionally run the changeup and cutter up there as well. Facing Bodie, and it's inside for a ball. What did you like about Trinan and what he brought to the bullpen last year?
Well, security to begin with, and he was one of those interchangeable pieces that Dave Roberts was able to go to. You get ups and downs, you get hot streaks, cold streaks, and Trinan was a guy that was there. He could come in, close out an inning. He's another big guy, 6'5", about 230, and there's nothing dainty about the way he pitches. He attacks the strike zone.
See Rangel Ravelo now in at first base for the Dodgers. Some other changes around the infield with Blake Trinan pitching. Omar Estevez is at second base. Jacob Amaya came in last inning at shortstop. And at third base, looking forward to watching this youngster play, Cody Hosey. Pitch outside and low. 2 balls and a strike. Hosey at third base. First round pick in 2019 for the Dodgers. He was the 25th player selected overall. And we're seeing a number of high draft choices in this spring camp in the last couple of days, Rick. It's been good. Bobby Miller last night I thought was really good. Landon Knack, I thought the pitcher was really good. Michael Busch, we've been seeing him. He's swinging a pretty good bat right now, and then we'll get to see Hosey, another first rounder here tonight.
And for the younger guys that are coming on, it's really important. In my mind, it's important for them to get into ball games, to feel that they are part of the group, not outside looking in. They're actually a part of it. And they begin to understand a lot of different things, Tim. The preparation of the players. You watch Justin Turner. How does he get ready for a game? Corey Seager, Mookie Betts, all these guys that have had good track records. How do they get ready? Well, they don't feel like a fish out of water. You want everyone in the organization to understand, hey, look, we are the Dodgers organization. It's not, hey, we're separation from here. You're not the major league level. You're playing. No. We're the same uniform, and you want to see them have the chance to get on the field.
Pitch to Bodie. Foul back again. Well, Dodgers are pretty well loaded up on the major league roster, but they continue to reload in the minor leagues and in terms of prospects. I mean, that's how you build a winning organization. And it's unusual to see it happen at both ends. Typically, you're going to be either heavier in terms of talent at the major league level, or you've got good talent coming up. Not many organizations can have it both ways, but the Dodgers have been able to do that. Bodie strikes out. Treinen gets strikeout number 1.
And Treinen is another one of the guys. You begin to look at the Dodgers both in the starting rotation and in the bullpen. All the guys, they throw differently. They're not carbon copies. And Dave Robertson, conversations we've had with him over the last couple of years is, look, that enhances our opportunity because hitters are not getting the same look at guys that throw the same stuff, same velocity, same movement all the time.
Oh, and 1 to Austin Romine. Romine ran into one in the 3rd inning for a 2-run homer. Reached on an error in the 2nd. This one is fisted to the first base side. Ravello will take it himself. Tells Treinen don't worry about it. Steps on the bag for out number 2.
Well, Romine did not feel the ball on the bat on the home run in the 3rd inning. His right thumb, I would imagine right now, is vibrating like a tuning fork.
You get jammed pretty good. Angel Ravello getting an opportunity at first base now late in this game. 2 down, top of the 5th. Cubs scored a single run in the 1st inning. Their big inning was the 3rd when they put 4 up. That'd be 5 actually. And then another one in the 4th. Treinen delivers ball 1. Rafael Ortega. A base hit in the 3rd inning. Popped out to Corey Seager in the 2nd. So 1 for 2. Takes a strike. I see for you, you've got to be tested right away, Rick. Since this is your spring debut in 2021, you're going to be working on your day game after a night game situation tomorrow.
After just having driven across country, I'm up to it.
What time is it? Do you know?
No, I don't. I'm actually still on Eastern time, Florida.
Remember, day game tomorrow. 9 innings. Throwing it right back in the fire. Check the swing. The appeal did not go. Ed Hickok's down there at 3rd base. And the 2-2 pitch from Blake Treinen. 3-2. There's so many people out there right now that are happy to have baseball as a welcome distraction, and a lot of people excited to have it back on time. Being able to watch these games. Got him. Ortega goes down on strikes. Clean inning for Blake Treinen. He strikes out 2 of the 3 men he faces. Some midday baseball for you tomorrow, and the Ace will be going. Clayton Kershaw, the lefty, will make his first spring start tomorrow against Kansas City. Expected to go 2 innings. Last season, a 2.16 ERA. As walks and hits per innings pitched, 0.84. Very good. Excellent. 6-2 record for the world champion, Clayton Kershaw. We have coverage right here starting at 11:30. Radio TV simulcast tomorrow. Kirsten, Rick, and I will be back with you tomorrow early. And Corey Abbott, Cubs farmhand, trying to get promoted to the system, is now on, and he'll face 9-1-2 in the Dodger order. Abbott takes over for Joe Biagini. A lot of the Cubs regulars are out. Trying to catch up on the changes as we go. Higgins is in there behind the plate for Chicago. P.J. Higgins. So he relieves Austin Romine. Second time up for Outman. Now, 5th inning, the number 9 hitter, and only coming up for the second time. You know your team has been challenged scoring-wise. So Outman would like to put together an inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Next offering the 1-1 to Outman. That's inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Outman will swing and put this one on the ground to the right side. And first baseman Davis steps on the bag. And there's 1 gone for the Dodgers in the bottom of the 5th. Rebound still in the game, right, Davis? DJ Peters told the story last night, Rick, that when DJ was in Rancho, Single A, he faced Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner was with the San Jose Giants on a rehab stint in the Cal League, and Peters took him deep not once but twice in the same inning. We'll get Peters aboard. Third baseman Chase Strumpf just kept the glove up, never got it down.
Strumpf came in, he put the glove down, hoping the ball would go in it. Tried to play the shortstop, the short hop, I should say. But he stayed off the side of the ball. He did not keep the ball in front of him, and that's pretty much a bullfighter Olay.
Yes, it is. But Peters will take it. That'll be ruled a base hit. Jacob Amaya. I like that ruling.
On a base hit?
Yeah.
Spring training, the official scores too. The rule book says at the major league level, fielding the ball, ordinary effort.
It's got to be ordinary effort. We were talking about the rule book earlier, and I know that your rule book's a little different. I've seen your rule book. It's got some different
it has
scenarios.
Some whereases and therefores.
Yeah. No, not different like bad, but different like really good in terms of the way that you can.
It's labeled "you make the call," so it has the rule, and then it has, well, some case studies, if you will.
Amaya waiting at the plate, 3-0 pitch. And he's aboard for pitch walk.
Everyone thinks that they know the game of baseball. Well, it's a rather simplistic game if you look at it overall technically. But then the minutia of it and the rule book. For example, okay, the bases are what, 90 feet, right? From where to where? Look it up in the rule book. I think you will be surprised.
I'm sure I will. You know, the rule book never ceases to surprise. It's actually, when you start digging into it, find some interesting things.
And the umpires have all of the rule book, the interpretation of rules on top of it. We get just a thumbnail sketch.
I've been able to go through that book, the one that the umpires get.
I find it very interesting.
It's really neat. It has charts of, you know, alignments, has everything from, you know, when they're supposed to be at the ballpark, how they're supposed to dress. I mean, it's got all that stuff, grid stuff. Things that you just never think about,
Yeah.
but
And how you are supposed to purport yourself.
right. Exactly.
Pre-game responsibilities of umpires. We were talking earlier about Pollock having been healthy last year, and all you have to do is look at the fact tied for the team lead with the home runs. The power was there on top of it too because he was healthy.
Up in the air to right field. This is Miller underneath it. He'll make the catch. And the runners hold it first and second.
Right fielder for the Cubs is number 1, Ian Miller. The left fielder, number 85, Ian Rooney.
Pollock is out, so AJ getting the extra round of at-bats tonight here in the fifth. And instead of Edwin Rios, Devin Mann comes in to pinch hit. Devin's had a few at-bats so far this spring. Devin out of Louisville, 5th round pick in 2018. Columbia North High School in Indiana. Devin Mann. DJ Peters at second base and Jacob Amaya at first. Amaya out of West Covina High School. Corey Abbott out of the stretch, 2 on and 2 out. Breaking ball is well hit by Mann, but it'll end up in the glove of Morel in center field. On to the 6th at Camelback Ranch. Chicago 7, Dodgers nothing. Sure you stay with us after the game for Access Sportsnet Dodgers, presented by your Southern California Ford dealers. Rick may even make a cameo tonight. 7-0 Cubs. 7 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Chicago. 0-6-2 for the Dodgers. Here he is, lefty Victor Gonzalez. Really came into his own last season. 15 appearances. He went 3-0 and a 1.33 ERA. The opponent average was impressive too. Just 173 against. Out of Tuxpan, Mexico. And his first pitch tonight is swung on and well hit to left. Getting back after it, Andy Burns, but he will make way for Ryan Noda in center field. And Noda will make the catch. And Amaya is out for the Cubs. Amaya hitting in the spot of Wisdom. A long fly ball out.
Well, it helps to have some speed and some range in center field.
Brennan Davis will bat for the Cubs here for Alfonso Rivas. Yeah, Victor was an interesting story. Of course, he was playing in Mexico City Dodgers ended up working out a deal that not only included Gonzalez, but Julio Urias was in the deal as well. Mike Brito had gone there and scouted him and said if we can get those two, he'd be all right. And it took a while, though, for Victor. Julio advanced pretty quickly. I mean, he was signed at age 16, and he has been dynamite for the Dodgers. And Victor last year, a huge contributor. After almost quitting baseball at one point in time, he would get emotional. He would just feel so horrible when he couldn't get guys out. He'd leave the field and didn't really know how to process it. He went home for a while, and then his friends and family said, you know what, you need baseball. Contact the Dodgers, get back in and start pitching again. And he did.
And what we saw last year, it's very difficult to believe that here's a young man that was thinking about walking away from the game, if not running away from the game.
Got to experience the postseason for the first time, the World Series. And he was effective. You know, he didn't back down from anybody.
Well, he had the velocity. I think at some particular point in time, as pitchers will learn, is to get ahead in counts where you're not throwing behind in the count all the time. 2-0, 3-1. Those are danger zones.
This is still Alfonso Rivas in the game at first base at the plate, not Davis. And he swings and strikes out. So that takes care of Rivas pretty quickly. And a strikeout for Victor.
What about the confidence of a young player? I mean, you're on the verge of closing the curtain or iron gate on a dream that you've had since you were probably a youngster, and then all of a sudden you get a breath of fresh air. He got some encouragement from people that really cared about him, but he had to do it himself.
Put in the work, figured out how to advance. There's Trent Jambroni, rather. Trent Jambroni. Getting in there for Chicago on the top of the 6th inning of a 7-0 game here at Camelback Ranch. And the pitch by Gonzalez. It's high. You know, it was interesting, too, that after 2017, that was when Victor Gonzalez had to recover from the Tommy John surgery he had. But I guess once he went and had everything adjusted in his elbow, things started to work well for him. And then he was able to finally, after the recovery, advance up to AAA.
Remember the first couple of times that we saw him last year, his breaking ball in particular against left-handed batters. Lefties were getting jelly-legged. They were not staying in there at all. He would throw one breaking ball inside, which means to a left-handed batter, the view that you get is it looks like the ball is going to be thrown behind you. And then he would go outside corner.
You being a left-handed hitter, anybody come to mind that had a delivery like that?
It's a long list.
Long list?
Yeah, we don't have that much time left.
Got one guy? Because, of course, you know who owned you and you know who you own. Right?
Sam McDowell. Sudden Sam. Who, at times, I believe this to this day, was purposely a little wild.
Effectively wild.
No,
right?
Purposely.
Purposely?
Purposely.
Okay.
I was 0 for like 4 years against him. And I finally got a bunt single. I got to first base. I was pretty happy. He was pitching for the Cleveland Indians at the time. Duke Sims, I think, was the catcher. And Sam started yelling at me. And he says, next time up, I'm going to hit you right in the fanny. And he did. And from that moment on, I said, he's got better control than what we thought, because he said he was going to hit me in the rear end. He did hit me in the rear end. And then we were on the All-Star team together in the American League, and he remembered it. We get on the bus to go to the ball game, right? He goes, how's your fanny, kid? Fine, Mr. McDowell. Thank you.
Thank you. It's recovered. Payoff pitch from Victor Gonzalez. We'll have another one.
But there's a long list of guys, and if you start to break them down, sometimes it doesn't really make sense. From a standpoint, I said, okay, fine. If I hit this number against a guy that has a pretty good fastball, maybe not a real good breaking ball, but I hit well against him, but then there's another pitcher that's almost identical as far as stuff, but you don't hit well against him. Because sometimes you just don't pick the ball out of a particular pitcher's hand as well as others.
On the 8th pitch of the at bat, Gonzalez gets the strikeout, so a nice inning of work for Victor. 3 up, 3 down, 2 punch outs. Cubs 0-6-2 for the Dodgers. Bottom of the 6th inning. Left-hander Jerry Vasto will come on and pitch. Takes over for Abbott. One of the numbers from 2 seasons ago in the minor leagues for Vasto. Did not pitch in 2019, but he was in the big leagues with the Royals for a handful of games. Appeared for the Rockies in 2018 also. Just 1 game, pitched 2/3 of an inning for Colorado. And here he is taking on Burns. Something different about Burns today. I think he had a mustache the other day. This one fouled off, and that's well up into the seats. And Burns took the circuitous route back to the big leagues through the KBO for the Lotte Giants. Spent 3 seasons with them. A good player. Learned a lot in Korea.
Well, we watched a lot of that baseball last year.
Yes, we did. The first one that we could find on YouTube was from Taiwan. Started watching those inter-squad games, and then some of their games in the KBO. And then Japan came back. We came back. Saw a lot of international baseball last year. And Burns takes low. But Burns got to experience it firsthand. You know, a number of players get to do that. And that one's inside, ball 4. So Burns draws the leadoff walk.
Third baseman, number 63, Cody Housey.
First round pick in 2019. There's Cody Housey. And Cody went to Tulane in New Orleans. Was the 25th player taken overall. He was originally drafted out of high school in the 35th round. That was in 2018. Kansas City wanted to get their hands on it, but he went to Tulane for a year and improved his draft stock dramatically, going from the 35th round to the 1st round. Griffith High School in Griffith, Indiana. There's a shortstop there. MVP 3 straight years in high school. And this one slapped on the ground, foul, third base side.
See some of these younger players, you start to wonder, say, well, the makeup, what do they have? Maybe physically, you saw a taste of some bat speed. Isn't good. Get a fresh piece of lumber. But good bat speed. He's big enough. He's 6'4", 200. But as you're going to be looking at high school players, you allude to the fact that MVP in high school and all kinds of awards and honors. But when he finally got to his senior year, he began to hit home runs because he was finally beginning to grow into his body and maturing as far as, you know, physically, the reaction time.
It was such a big year for him, though, in 2019 after the draft. he signed. Once he signed, and again, the guys aren't waiting around like they used to sign. But he signed. He went directly to rookie ball in Arizona. He had 357 there, 3 home runs, and was sent straight to Great Lakes in Low A. They sent him right past Ogden. Typically, the chain would go Arizona, Ogden, then Great Lakes, and Hosey hits one deep down the left field side. It is hooking foul.
Breaking ball got in his hands a little bit. Kind of a hanger. Got upstairs, but as soon as Hosey went out, as you mentioned, he began to play. He hit the ball really well. And what we understand is he does not get pull conscious. In other words, doesn't have the tendency to pull off the ball all the time. He's strong enough to hit it out anyway. So go with the pitch.
Hosey tied up, swings and strikes out.
Pitcher gets into your kitchen. It doesn't matter what level you're in. The kitchen is the kitchen, and that's a vulnerable area. By the way, I looked it up in between innings against Sam McDowell.
Oh yeah, what did you hit against?
I hit a $133.
That's it, huh?
I faced 502 pitchers in the 19 years I played. I faced Sam McDowell 30 times. I struck out 16 of those trips.
More than half. That's tough.
I was part of a lumberjack union, carrying bats back to the dugout.
Well, like I said earlier, you know the guys that owned you, and you know the guys that you owned. Who did you own? Who did you own? Who's the guy?
It's a smaller list than the other.
It's a list nonetheless.
Carlton, Steve Carlton, hit 375 against him.
Rangel Ravelo is swinging a miss.
Bob Gibson, 333.
Well, there's an accomplishment. Were you 1 for 3 against him? I'm just trying to do backwards math.
No, 12 for 36.
12 for 36?
Yeah.
Well, that is.
Take that.
That's big time respectable. That's good.
Jim Palmer, 357.
Does Jim know that?
I'll remind him when I see him. Tom Seaver, 349. Hit more home runs off of Tom Seaver, which saddened to learn of his passing. We played together in the Alaska Gold Panthers. First chance that I've had passing of someone that I knew when I was 17 years of age. And thank goodness my path in life crossed his. Tommy Lasorda. We lost Don Sutton recently. Former teammate as well, a Hall of Fame pitcher. Well, he was one of those people that in your lifetime, if you have someone that contributes to you and encourages you to do what maybe you never thought was possible. At the age of 17, Tommy Lasorda at that time was a scout for the LA Dodgers. When Tommy would finish with a team meeting, if the doors were to be locked from the outside, you take the wall down. He had an 8-minute meeting with us once, and he used a few expletives. In fact, he set a new world indoor record in an 8-minute meeting. As we're walking out, someone said, "Can you believe that meeting? And we're in first place by 6 games."
6-4-3. I'm sure we've got.
But Tommy knew we should have been in first place at the time by 10 games, and he challenged us.
More on Tommy when we come back. Ryan Michael Pepiot takes over for the Dodgers here in the 7th inning. Pepiot out of Butler, Indianapolis, 3rd round pick in 2019. Dodgers certainly have high hopes for this prospect. 2 seasons ago, 13 appearances and an ERA of 1.93. So Pepiot getting to pitch here in the 7th inning. Along with Rick Monday, Tim Neverett, and he's telling some stories about Tommy Lasorda. And one of the stories you've told me before, and I find it really funny as the pitch swung on and missed. Is you were a teenager and the Dodgers used to have these this team that would
Dodger rookie team,
right? You were Santa Monica kid, so you get selected. Word had it you were a pretty good player, so you got to play and tell that story about what happened. Why Tommy got mad at you?
Yeah, well, they invited some of the soon-to-be graduated seniors to try out for a Dodger rookie team. Well, Tommy Lasorda at the time was a scout, and he was coaching that team along with the late Kenny Myers. So it was over 3 weekends. You try it out. I made the team. We're playing during the summer, and it was all the guys the Dodgers were really trying to sign. Tommy had my mother, who was a single parent, out to dinner, contract in front of her 3 different times. And my mom said, no, he's going to go to college. Well, we go down to San Diego and play against a Marine All-Star team. Tommy has me batting second in the ball game. The first guy walks on 4 pitches that you and even needed a compass in order to find home plate. They were nowhere close to home plate. So he walks. I'm the second batter. I look down to third. Tommy's coaching third base. He puts on the hit and run sign, which means I have to swing at the first pitch. Runner takes off. Ball's about chin high. I reach up, hit it, and I hit a home run. So Tommy would always, even when he was a coach with the Dodgers at the major league level, he would always, as you come by, hit a home run, he would slap you on the backside and yell an encouragement. Well, I got to third base. He was backing away from the third base bag, and he looked mad, irritated. Well, I'm 17. Now I go to college. Now I sign. I'm with the A's. I'm with the Cubs. And now I come to the Dodgers. I come home. Tommy's first full year as a manager. We're in spring training. We have a rain delay, waiting for the fields to dry out so we can go practice in Vero Beach, Florida. And Tommy's telling stories. He says, yeah, I tried to sign Mo. I tried to sign Dusty. I said, Tommy, you're not going to remember this. I've always wondered, though. We're playing the Dodger rookie team. We're playing in the Marines down in San Diego. I hit a home run, had me batting second. I always wondered, you won't remember this, but you wouldn't shake my hand as I came around the third base bag. But I know you don't remember. I said, the heck, I don't remember it. I'll tell you exactly why I didn't want to shake your hand. There were 12 major league scouts in the stands. I wanted you to look bad. The first guy walked on 4 pitches, weren't anywhere close. I wanted you to swing and miss at a pitch. That's why I put the hit and run on. I wanted the scouts to think he has no discipline, doesn't know the strike zone. You hit the home run. I was mad. And that's when I discovered how competitive Tommy Lasorda was.
Yeah, the best laid plans didn't really work out. It worked out for you, though.
Oh, he could motivate a rock. Honest to goodness. And it was very sad. Ironically enough, it was 4 days after his passing. A gentleman showed me a photo, and I said, I've never seen that photo before in my life. And it was taken in spring training, my first year with the Dodgers, and Tommy and I are walking with our arms around one another in uniform.
Really?
And it's tough.
But what did you remember about that moment? Did you go back and remember that moment?
We had a lot of private moments. And Tommy Lasorda was very unique. And again, if we're fortunate, our paths cross with people that somehow, some way contribute to our lives.
1-0 from Pepio is on the outside edge for a strike to the Cubs shortstop, Avital Avelino.
I just don't ask him what he thought about Dave Kingman's performance.
Yeah, what did he think? I'm still wondering. I'm not quite clear. Kingman hit 3 home runs.
Deep. Real deep.
You remember who asked that question? Avelino strikes out, 2 outs. He's now the public address announcer at Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
Paul Olden. So, Tommy, what did you think of Dave Kingman's performance?
Yes.
And Paul, one of the really good guys in baseball,
yeah,
lives down in St. Pete.
Attempting to really agitate, but
Chase Trump, the third baseman. 2 outs and a man aboard in the top of the 7th inning. Cubs up 7-0. Good to have Rick Monday back in the booth. No rust to bang off, by the way. So we'll see about the day game after the night game.
Oh, it's
though.
building.
It's building.
Mhm.
All right. Ground ball left side. And Amaya right there on the South Hills High on West Covina with the assist and a good inning for Pepio. The reason to smile, he's trying to hold one back. Cubs right-hander Trevor McGill out of Long Beach and Loyola Marymount. Hasn't pitched above Double-A yet. His last organized season was Amarillo in the Texas League. Prior to that, the Cal League with Lake Elsinore. And Amarillo 2 seasons ago, 39 appearances, 2-2. 3.86 earned run average. So Trevor McGill, Southern Californian, pitching for the Cubs. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Pretty good curveball. See what he does with it here in the bottom of the 7th inning of a 7-0 game. Omar Estevez will come up to bat to start the bottom of the 7th inning. Swinging at the first pitch, pops it up foul right side. And there's one down as Rivas makes the catch. Noda now will bat in the 9 spot as he took over for James Outman, who got another start here in center field tonight. McGill gets the first out. McGill had a brother Tyler that also played baseball at Loyola Marymount. That's where Dave Roberts' son playing baseball there. Left field slicing. And caught for the second out. 2 down, 1 to go here in the bottom of the 7th. This 7th inning of a 7-inning game, I should say. Let's see, a couple of nights ago, the Giants game, 6th inning. No, it was the Rockies game. That was a 6-inning game. On the 1st of March, the Dodgers still managed 10 runs in 6 innings. That's the shortest game they've played so far. Dodgers looking to get the goose egg off the board, but only 1 out to play with here. Curveball, strike call. What do you think of what DJ Peters has been able to do, both offensively and defensively?
Well, he's a guy, first of all, if he were to plow a field, he could do it with a shovel on his own. He is big enough and strong enough.
He's down to his last strike.
You get the feeling too, Tim, is that I think Peters falls into category 2, is that you want these young players to be able to play. They need repetition. They need at-bats, games under their belt. And every time we've seen him in spring training, he's gotten better and better. More disciplined. The swing's gotten a little bit shorter.
Clean cut for the 2nd year in a row. Remember in 2009, he had the beard, the long hair.
Oh, yeah.
He came back last year at the beginning of spring training, and people didn't recognize him.
Well, he's aerodynamically improved.
Yeah. He's ready to
man
go.
with no beard and without the long hair, and they're saying, "Who's that?"
Well, that's the other guy.
Again, with the AAA season is going to be delayed by 1 month.
Right.
A lot of these guys, is it how will they stay fresh? We were discussing on the way down to the studios today where the players are going to be going, how they're going to be working out, those that are not breaking camp and staying with the big league ball club and the traveling part.
Peters takes strike 3, and that's your ball game. So Trevor McGill out of Loyola Marymount comes in, finishes up things nicely for the Cubs. David Ross and the Cubs get a win here tonight. 7-0 final score in in favor of Chicago. So back to the drawing board tomorrow for the Dodgers as they look to get the bats going on the road. That'll do it from Glendale. Final score, Cubs 7, Dodgers nothing. For Rick Monday and Kirsten Watson, I'm Tim Never. Thank you for being with us. Tomorrow, Dodgers face the Royals on SNLA at noon. Now stay tuned. Access Sportsnet Dodgers, presented by your Southern California Ford dealers right now.
I am loving